People asking about your job situation early on is a red flag. I don't care whether they are potential romantic partners or potential friends that you just met at a networking event. Asking what do you do for a living right after you decline your name will never not be a red flag to me, because what does what do you do for a living even mean? Quickly, somebody. Exactly, absolutely nothing. It's just one of those bullish sentences for people who are too chicken to say what do you do for work or what's your job, because what do I do for a living? I breathe. Okay, isn't that what everybody does for a living? That is literally my answer every single time. Every time somebody asks me, what do you do for a living? I answer, I breathe, because that is literally what I do for a living. That is what everybody does for a living. So again, people who ask you, what do you do for a living, really mean, what do you do for work? And people who need to know what do you do for work early on, like right after you decline your name, are people who are trying to guesstimate your social economical class. Okay, to these people, it is important to know whether you're a lawyer or doctor, engineer, or whether you're a cleaning lady, a waitress, or a stripper. Okay, like your words to them is sine qua non to whatever it is you do for a living or how much money you have. Okay, that is important to them in order for them to even foresee a friendship with you. Because see, when I'm looking for a friend, I'm looking for somebody who has the ability to care for me. That is the most important thing to me. Okay, are they going to show up when I lose a loved one? If God forbid my daughter is in the hospital, are they going to show up by my place if God forbid I'm suffering from the type of debilitating depression that stopped me from being able to clean around my apartment? Are they going to come by, clean around the place, perhaps, you know, cook 4 or 5 meals and put them in the freezer? That is the most important thing to me when I'm vetting for a friend. What they do for a living literally doesn't matter. Like, why should I choose my friend based on whether they have money or not? That doesn't even make sense. But people who ask you early on, like I said, within an hour of getting to know you, what do you do for a living, are trying to guesstimate that. Do you know how I know that? Every time that I answer them, I breathe, which is what I always do. They try to know where I live. Okay, they will always ask then, where do you live? Because in most cities, you're going to be able to tell, you know, based on the neighborhood that the person lives, whether they have money or not, you know, based on whether the neighborhood is expensive or not. So this is how you know one thing and one thing only is important for these people, and it is whether you have money or not. Okay, and they will try to gaslight you and say, you know, every time I ask them why, they say, oh, I'm just trying to get to know you. Like, what does what I do for a living, like they like to say, has to do with me? Like, most people don't work in the field they study. Like, there's a study out there that proved that 65% of people don't even work in the field they study. So to most people, a job is just a mean to an end. Okay, it's just a way to survive. It's a way to get money for rent, utilities, get food, feed their kids. Like, to most people, that's just what a job is. Like, it's just a way, again, to survive. Like, there's a study out there about how many people are depressed about their job, about burnout. Okay, about the amount of people that are depressed about their jobs, the amount of people that literally have to take pills, okay, Xanax, so that they can show up at their jobs. That's how little what people do has to do with whom they are. And granted, there are people who have based their entire identity and personality around their job, but I have found that those people early on will speak about their job by themselves. You don't need to ask them. You know, I remember meeting a friend actually 1.5 years ago around this time of the year, and I remember that early on she told me that on her first day of first grade, she knew she wanted to be a teacher. Like, she walked into that classroom, looked at the teacher and said, wow, someday that is going to be me. Okay, so people who have made their job their identity and their personality will lead with that. Okay, very early on they will let you know that they always wanted to be a doctor because as a child their mom had cancer or whatever else, right? And for the rest of the human population, their job doesn't really define who they are. Like, if you're trying to get to know somebody, ask them what is the most interesting thing about them. Don't ask them what they do for a living, because again, more time than not, that is going to tell you absolutely nothing about them. What do most people do for a living in this day and age? They send emails, they write emails. That is literally what they do. Okay, now they can put some fancy title on it and say that they are senior project manager or junior project manager, whatever that means. Okay, they send email, they receive emails. Okay, they type as per my last email aggressively in a very passive aggressive manner most days. Okay, but yeah, seriously, stay away and be wary of people who ask you early on, what do you do for a living? Now, I'm gonna say that I understand that sometimes it is important to know about a potential friend's finances. You know, if you're somebody who enjoy going out to eat in fancy places, you don't always want to be the person who is going to be picking up the bill, because you know that is going to bring resentment into the friendship. And I get that, but my issue here is the lying. Okay, my issue is the gaslighting. If someone asks you, why do you want to know, just say, I just want to know. But don't be gaslighting them, telling them, oh, I'm trying to get to know you. No, you're not. You're a classist, and that's okay. Again, you get to choose your friend based on whether they have money or not. If you want to, other people will say that it's important for them to know what a potential friend does for a living, because they hate small talk and they enjoy intellectually challenging conversations. So they believe that somebody who's been to college is more likely to be able and like to have such conversation than somebody who hasn't. Granted, I do believe that there is a correlation probably between master degrees, PhDs, and intellectual intelligence. There's probably a correlation there, right? I'm sure that if you were to sample a group of 1,000 people who have master degrees and then sample a group of 1,000 people who are blue-collar workers, probably, you know, the group who has more people with master degrees, or the people with master degrees rather, is going to fare higher in the IQ system. But correlation is not causation, okay? It's not because people haven't been to college that they don't have, you know, the intellectual baggage necessary in order to have intellectually challenging conversations. Like, and maybe I'm being biased here because I haven't been to college, and I believe that I'm perfectly capable of having intellectually stimulating conversations about pretty much anything. Okay, I don't believe that there's a single thing that somebody can be talking about where I won't have a single thing to say. Now, I may not be able to talk at length about atom physics, but you know, I'm still going to be able to cover the basics. Like, again, there is not a single subject of conversation that somebody could bring at the table where I'm going to say like, I have absolutely nothing to say about that. I don't even know what you're talking about. I don't believe that is possible, but then again, I could be wrong. So yeah, it's not because somebody haven't been to college that, you know, they are not able to have intelligent conversation, whatever that means. Me personally, I'm always looking for independent thinkers. That's the most important thing to me, whether people have been to uni or no. What's most important to me is whether they are able to have their own thoughts, whether they have thoughts of their own. That is the most important thing to me. I just don't like groupthink. I just don't like people who believe certain things just because society says, you know, that is the right thing to believe, whatever that means. And you know, people going to university doesn't always mean that they are super duper smart. Like, at the end of the day, you know, intellectual education is more about regurgitating than it is about intelligence. Like, people who fare well in the school system are people who are able to take in what a teacher says and then regurgitate it with their own words. You know, reason why it's frowned upon to use ChatGPT. So yeah, having a master degree isn't always being the key word in the sentence you get a sign of intellectual intelligence. But anyways, to me, people who ask early on about your job are a red flag, okay? And this is even worse if you're a woman dating, because men who inquire about your job situation early on are looking for a helpmate, okay? I don't care. These people are not looking for a partner. They need help. Like, I remember when I used to date online on Tinder, men who asked me early on about my job, I would always ask them, do you need a loan? Like, literally, do you need money? Because there is no other reason I can see for you asking me about my job right after asking me my name. Like, that doesn't even make sense, because if we were to meet and go on a date, like, potentially you would find out what I do for a living. And I don't want you guys to get me wrong. It's not that I'm against people knowing what people do for work with time. Like, obviously that's going to come out. Like, why be secretive about your job? I personally don't have a job, but you know, it's not a secret, right? It's not something that I believe people need to be secretive about. My point is, it's something that you will find out eventually, right? As you're getting to know somebody, I can't foresee you getting to know them for 8 weeks without finding out what they do for work. Like, at some point they're going to talk about it. They're going to mention going to work or coming from work, and then you can ask them, what do you even do? Or they're going to mention something about what they do at work that will let you know what they do, or something like that, right? But my point is, why is it something that you need to know early on? Like, why would you stand right in front of somebody and ask, what's your name? And they say XYZ, and you're like, yeah, it's XYZ. What do you do for a living? Like, why is that so important to you so early on in the interaction? That is my thing, you know. But obviously I'm not against people knowing what other people do for work. Like, it's not a secret to most people, at least, okay? So yeah, that is my point here. Don't get me wrong. But yeah, to me, people who inquire early on about what I do for work, which again is absolutely nothing, or what I do for a living, which again is breathing, literally, and I leave. Okay, yeah. If you like this video, do not forget to give it a thumbs up. In the comment section down below, let me know, what do you think about people inquiring early on about your job? Do you like it? Don't you like it? What do you usually answer? You know, I'm looking for new things on my rotation except breathing. Sometimes I will also say I read, I go to the toilet, blah blah blah, ta ta ta. But yeah, let me know what you answer in the comment section down below, whether you mind or not. Do not forget to subscribe to my channel as well, and I will talk to you girls soon, and very, very soon. Bye guys, thanks for watching. Mwah.